What's going on, people? It's your boy John the Dreamer, and today I'm going to talk about my experience with the Ableton Push 2 and why I got rid of it. So I've been thinking about making this video for some time now, mainly because I sold my Push last year, and ever since I've been working with something different. But the main reason I wanted to make this video is because I wanted to let people know my personal experience with using the Push 2 and whether or not you should buy it. When I originally got mine, it was around £600, which is quite a steep investment for any music producer at any stage. You know, £600 is money, especially for just a MIDI controller. And that's the first thing I think we'll start with. A lot of people, especially new producers, when they see like a Push 2 in action, they don't realize that it's actually just a MIDI controller. And without a copy of Ableton Live, kind of screwed, man. It's kind of just like a massive paperweight, and I feel like a lot of people don't really understand that, especially when you see like the MPC counterparts and all that sort of stuff. They have screens in them, you can do everything within them, they're self-contained, you know, amazing bit of gear. They see a different alternative, they think like for like. They're not like for like. The Push is, you know, it's useless without a bit of software. So that's something you need to consider before you even think about investing in a Push 2. Now, like I just said, as just a MIDI controller, I'd always find that trying to actually browse through sounds, trying to use the software through the Push, it wasn't really an enjoyable experience for me. I feel like everything just took too long, trying to search through folders, load up plugins, you'd have to press load. It just felt like it was adding unnecessary steps to the process, whereas I could just open up the software, get my mouse, search what I was looking for, and double click and open it up. I'd always find that to be quicker. You know, when you're in that state of, you know, composition and trying to make a beat or anything you do in Ableton, like when you have a new idea, you know, your main concern is getting it out of here and directly into the software. So if you're spending too much time fiddling through folders and trying to, you know, fulfill that inspiration in your head, but then you take too long to execute it, you could lose that idea. And on numerous occasions I found that happening to myself. So in the end I stopped using it for that sort of stuff, and when I needed to find a sound, I'll just get the mouse out, search for an Ableton and find it, double click and done. Ableton is so intuitive just on itself as a software, I didn't need a controller for that. Now I know some people are going to say, look, I'm an old school guy, I like the hardware feel, I like to touch things, I like to, you know, I'm used to getting hands on with my gear. That's perfectly fine. I didn't grow up in that era. I grew up with a mouse and a QWERTY keyboard, and I had to make do with what I had. So, you know, my workflows might be a bit different to yours. This is just my opinions. Now, another big problem I have with the Ableton Push 2 is it's just not portable enough for my own workflow. I have a great studio, but it's in a residential area. So when it comes to working with other people, I often go to their studios, or we meet at a neutral studio location and we cook up and we make music. So those sessions happen very often, or it'll be like, come through tonight or come through tomorrow, or, you know, it's very sporadic. So I have to be able to just throw things in a backpack and go. I'd always find with a Push, I couldn't really do that. Number one, it didn't fit in any of the backpacks that I had. It's a massive solid machine. It's got a lot of weight to it. And they say when you have something with a bit of weight to it, it's made really well. And, you know, it is made really well. But at the same time, I feel like the Push 2 was kind of designed to just be like a centerpiece of a studio, something that just sits there. I don't really see it to be something that's portable because, you know, it just really isn't. So what I would do is just leave my Push in my studio and just take my laptop and work with a mouse and use my QWERTY keyboard. Now, to me, that's not ideal if you've paid £600 for a piece of gear that is, you know, really good. It's a nice MIDI controller, but it just started to annoy me when I couldn't really take it with me when I invested so much into it. Another thing is, most MIDI controllers are, you know, just USB bus powered, so you only need to plug your USB in and it works. Now, don't get wrong, the Push 2 does do this, but what happens is it kind of works in like a low power mode, so all the RGB lights and the screen is not fully illuminated. So the studios I go to, they're not always well lit. You know, the artists like to get in a vibe, they got the different lights on, they got the incense burning, they got whatever they're doing to get into the mood, but it's not always a bright or well lit scenario. So me trying to make a beat looking down and knowing that I can't really see my pads too well, it's frustrating. Now, going to some of these studios, you're not always aware of where the mains power outlets are, and sometimes I've been to studios and they're like,
oh, there isn't any, you kind of have to, well, there's one there, but that's, you know, doing the light.
But I need to sit over here by this desk. And it just started to become a problem, really, because you don't want to go to a session and you become the moany producer that's always looking for an outlet or this and that. Or let's say, oh, you're working with another producer, or you get an outlet each, like you need one for your charger of your laptop, and now I need the second one because of my Push 2. You know, just need one outlet, that's it. Charger for your laptop, everything else should be extra just for USB bus power and sorted. And as I started encountering all these issues with the Push 2, after a while I just kind of started phasing it out of my production workflow, because I just knew it would be a headache later. So when it came to just like searching for sounds or making music or even launching clips, I was spending much more time with just my mouse. And that's annoying, especially if you know you've invested so much into the product. So after a while, I kind of started making excuses to use it. Like I spent more time using the mixing functions on there and using the knobs and faders, and you know, having the screen there is lovely because you can see your dB, yada yada, but I have a screen and I can see the dB. So unfortunately, I just started to phase it out. Now the question most of you guys are probably asking me now is, what did you use to solve the problem? Let's get it up. This is what I used. I got myself a Launchpad Pro from Novation. Now this thing is great. The reason why is because it's so much more portable for my needs. I can throw this into a bag. It's completely USB bus powered. It's RGB. Look how thin this thing is, man. Oh man, let me put it down before I drop it. But I just found it to be so much more intuitive. Yes, there are things that I miss, and yes, there are things that it doesn't have. But when it comes down to putting them like for like on the table, to me they kind of stack up. So the main reason I swapped out my Push 2 for a Launchpad Pro is for portability and what I really use Ableton for. The main things I use Ableton for: launching clips, launching scenes, recording MIDI, you know, working within a scale mode from time to time, working within a chord mode, which the Push 2 doesn't have. You know, the Launchpad Pro has a chord mode, so you can play complex chords with just one note. You can also highlight individual notes and make a chord out of it and make a little chord bank, so you could play chord progressions with one finger, which to me is really dope. Obviously there are things that are missing. They both have their pros and cons. I'm gonna put a list right here on the screen and you can make your own decision. This video is just about my views and my experiences, just giving you guys an insight. But for your own uses, I urge you to take some time out and research what is important to you about your MIDI controller, what you're using Ableton Live for, and you make the decision. But for me, the Launchpad Pro was more than adequate for my needs. Now just to make this clear, this video is not sponsored by Novation, but you know, if you're watching, holla at me. But yeah, I hope this video provided you the insight that you needed when it comes to deciding whether you should get a Push 2, a Launchpad Pro, or any other MIDI controller that works with Ableton. So I'll see you in the next video. It's been your boy John the Dreamer. Until next time. So for me, it was just starting to frustrate. Dogs, man. So for me, unfortunately,